For more than 4,500 years, the pyramids of Egypt have stood as eternal monuments on the edge of the desert. Rising above the golden sands of Giza, they remind us of a civilization that once believed in eternity. The pharaohs, god-kings of the Nile, built these colossal structures not just as tombs, but as stairways to the heavens. Today we embark on a journey across time, uncovering the secrets of the pharaohs and their pyramids, from their divine power to their incredible engineering and to the mysteries that still remain unsolved. It was the heartbeat of ancient Egypt. Stretching more than 6,600 kilometers, it flowed like a ribbon of life through the desert. Without the Nile, there would be no pyramids, no temples, no pharaohs. Every year, the river flooded its banks, leaving behind rich black soil that gave birth to crops, feeding an entire civilization. For the Egyptians, the Nile was not just water. It was a sacred gift from the gods. It was the source of food, trade, and transport. It connected Upper and Lower Egypt, uniting them as one kingdom. The pharaohs ruled by the Nile, armies marched along its banks, and sacred barges carried offerings to the gods. The pyramids themselves, though standing far in the desert, were aligned with the river. Blocks of stone were transported across canals linked to the Nile, carried by wooden boats and rafts. It was the highway of creation, carrying both people and miracles. To the Egyptians, the Nile was also a symbol of eternity. Its endless flow mirrored the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Just as the river rose and fell, so too did the lives of men in the reigns of pharaohs. But like the Nile, Egypt endured, everlasting, eternal. More than 5,000 years ago, the land of Egypt was divided into two kingdoms, Upper Egypt in the south and Lower Egypt in the north. Each had its own crown, its own gods, and its own rulers. But a young leader named Narmer, also known as Menes, changed history forever. Around 3100 BC, Narmer launched a campaign to unite the two lands. Through conquest, diplomacy, and vision, he forged one kingdom under a single crown. The double crown of Egypt, red and white, symbolized the union of north and south, of papyrus and lotus, of desert and fertile plains. This unification marked the birth of one of the greatest civilizations in human history. With the Nile as its spine and a single pharaoh as its head, Egypt entered a golden age of order, power, and innovation. From this unity came stability, from stability came prosperity, and from prosperity came the monumental projects that would shape eternity, including the pyramids themselves. Without Narmer's unification, there would be no pharaohs as we know them, and no Egypt that could stand for thousands of years. To the ancient Egyptians, the pharaoh was not merely a king, he was a god on earth. Chosen by the gods and destined to rule, the pharaoh stood at the center of both the earthly world and the divine realm. His authority was absolute, his word was law, and his presence was sacred. The pharaoh was believed to be the living embodiment of Horus, the falcon god of the sky, and upon death he became Osiris, the lord of the afterlife. This divine identity gave the pharaoh unmatched power and legitimacy. Every temple, every statue, every inscription reminded the people that their ruler was eternal, bridging heaven and earth. But divine rule also carried responsibility. The pharaoh had to uphold Ma'at, the principle of balance, order, and justice. If the pharaoh failed, chaos would follow. The Nile might not flood, crops could fail, and enemies could rise. Thus the pharaoh was not just a ruler of men, but the keeper of cosmic harmony. It was this divine role that justified the construction of massive monuments like the pyramids. They were not built for human kings, but for gods who walked among men. And in their shadows, the people of Egypt lived, worked, and worshipped, believing that as long as the pharaoh endured, so too would Egypt itself. As the pharaohs grew in power, their visions stretched beyond life itself. They no longer built simple tombs of mud brick. Instead, they imagined eternal monuments carved from stone. This was the birth of monumental architecture in Egypt, a revolution that transformed the desert into a landscape of eternity. The earliest rulers were buried in rectangular tombs called mastabas. These flat-roof structures of mud brick and stone were impressive for their time, but they were only the beginning. The Egyptians believed the soul, the Ka, needed a permanent home, a place strong enough to last forever. With this belief, architects and priests began experimenting with new designs. Step by step, mastabas grew taller, more complex, and more symbolic. These early structures would lay the foundation for the pyramids. It was not just about size, it was about reaching for the heavens. Every stone laid carried a spiritual meaning. Every angle pointed toward the gods. From modest mastabas to towering pyramids, Egypt entered an age of architectural ambition unmatched in history. The pharaohs no longer sought simple burials. They sought immortality in stone. In the third dynasty of Egypt, a visionary pharaoh named Djoser changed history forever. Guided by his brilliant architect, Imhotep, Djoser commanded the construction of the world's first pyramid, the Step Pyramid at Saqqara. Unlike the flat mastabas of earlier kings, this monument rose toward the heavens in 6 giant steps, symbolizing the pharaoh's climb to eternity. It was more than a tomb. It was a statement of divine power and architectural genius. Imhotep, later worshipped as a god of wisdom and healing, designed not just a pyramid, but an entire complex. Temples, courtyards, and ceremonial buildings surrounded the Step Pyramid, creating a sacred city of stone. For the first time, Egypt proved it could master the art of building monuments that would last forever. The Step Pyramid stood as a beacon of innovation, inspiring future pharaohs to dream bigger. Without Djoser and Imhotep, the Great Pyramid of Giza might never have been possible. This was the beginning of an age of wonders, carved into limestone and reaching for the sky. Egyptian kings dreamed of building smooth-sided pyramids that could rise like mountains from the desert. This dream fell into the hands of Pharaoh Sneferu, one of the greatest builders in history. Sneferu was ambitious. He began by constructing the pyramid at Meidum, which collapsed, teaching his architects painful lessons. Not discouraged, he turned to Djoser, where he ordered another grand design. What emerged was the bent pyramid, a monument unlike any other. Rising steeply from the desert, its angle suddenly shifts halfway, giving it its unique bent shape. Some believe the builders feared collapse and changed the angle to save it. Others think it was intentional, a symbolic design bridging earth and sky. Though imperfect, the bent pyramid marked a turning point. Sneferu learned from failure and pressed forward. Not far away, he built the Red Pyramid, Egypt's first successful, smooth-sided pyramid. Together, these experiments set the stage for Khufu's Great Pyramid. Sneferu's legacy was not just in stone, but in the boldness to dream bigger, to fail, and to rise again, leaving behind monuments that still puzzle and inspire us today. On the plateau of Giza, one monument towers above all others, the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Built more than 4,500 years ago, it remains one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the only one still standing. Khufu, son of Sneferu, dreamed bigger than any pharaoh before him. He commanded a structure so immense, so perfect, that it defied the imagination of his time. Over 2.3 million blocks of stone, some weighing more than 70 tons, were quarried, transported, and stacked with astonishing precision. For centuries, the methods of its construction have puzzled scholars. Some argue for vast ramps of mud bricks stretching for miles. Others believe ingenious counterweights and levers were used. Whatever the method, the feat was nothing short of miraculous. The Great Pyramid was not just a tomb, it was a symbol of divine power, aligned precisely to the cardinal points of the earth and to the stars of Orion's belt. Inside lay grand chambers, hidden passageways, and mysteries that still challenge us today. Khufu's vision left behind more than stone. He left a message carved into eternity, that the pharaoh was not merely a man, but a god whose power could command the very desert to rise toward the heavens. The Great Pyramid and the monuments of Egypt stand as proof of extraordinary engineering, yet the Egyptians built them without iron, without cranes, without modern machines. How did they achieve such perfection? The answer lies in ingenuity, persistence, and simple tools mastered with skill. Copper chisels, stone hammers, and wooden mallets shaped limestone blocks. Workers used ropes made from papyrus, sleds soaked with water to reduce friction, and levers of wood to move stones weighing tons. Canals from the Nile allowed massive blocks to float closer to the building sites, while ramps of mud brick and limestone chips carried them upward. Straight ramps, zigzagging ramps, even spirals. Archaeologists debate which designs were used, but beyond tools and ramps, there was something greater: organization. Thousands of laborers, engineers, scribes, and overseers worked in harmony, fed and housed in workers' villages built near the pyramids. These techniques, though simple by today's standards, achieved what seems impossible. They transformed the desert into a masterpiece of stone, proving that human ambition, guided by vision and unity, can create wonders that last for eternity.